Oh,
Um, Welcome, Susanna. Welcome on. And I'm here, and I'm so glad we committed to whatever amount of time you can stay for the hour. I hope it's the whole hour for us to practice together because it's so precious and sacred, the time to take care of the body and the mind, and also to have some positive impact on the body and the mind, whether we're strengthening the body or developing some balance, right, through practice, or whether we're practicing a mind state like, focus or loving kindness or compassion, all of which are things I think we all need. I'll just speak for myself. I know I need to practice them, as well as like concepts like forgiveness we can work with during this session, forgiveness, or sometimes you might feel it more to be the Sanskrit's escaping me, but happiness for another, right? Where you have happiness for another. And that can feel like a form of forgiveness too, where we're extending our generosity toward others. So even in this moment, as we start to begin the practice, you could even decide that the merits of this practice, which you probably are familiar with, the merits of mindfulness and meditation and movement practice, you might want to extend them already to someone in your life or to the whole world, to all living beings, as just a way of offering your practice, even as you start. But let's drop in together into whatever position you're in is fine. And I want to read you something from Thich Nhat Hanh as just a little something we can reflect on as we start to settle in. And so you can just start to settle in. As a young novice in my temple, we had no running water, no hot water, no electricity, and yet we still lived very happily. Even washing the dishes for 100 monks was very joyful because we did it together with the joy of brotherhood. We would walk up into the hills to rake pine needles for the fire to heat the water. We had no soap, but used the husks of coconut and ash to clean the pots. Happiness doesn't depend on external conditions alone. It depends on our way of looking at and seeing things. We can live more simply if we know how to cherish. Sorry, my little bells are going off. If we learn how to cherish the conditions we have. Mahatma Gandhi said that we must be the change we want to see in the world. If we know how to live a more simple, relaxed, and happy life, our planet will have a future, and all species on our planet will have a future. It's a dream we can realize right now today. Gandhi dressed simply, walked on foot, and ate frugally. The simplicity of his life is witness not only to his freedom from material things, but also to his spiritual strength. What made Gandhi's struggle a great success was not a doctrine, not even the doctrine of nonviolence, but Gandhi's own way of being. People everywhere are trying to apply the principle of nonviolence, but struggle to reproduce Gandhi's vitality. Lacking Gandhi's spiritual strength, it's hard to produce his level of compassion and sacrifice. But so long as we continue to allow ourselves to be dragged along by the machinery of consumerism, it will be difficult to build our spiritual strength. This is why the point of departure for a new civilization must be a determination not to be colonized by material goods, to rebel against materialism in favor of our need to be a human being. Living more simply can give us tremendous courage to speak the truth. When we speak out, we do so out of love and compassion. You have the courage to speak out because you're not afraid of losing anything. You are free. You know that understanding and love are the foundation of happiness. not material possessions, status, or position. But if you're afraid of losing those things, you won't have the courage to speak out. I think it's so, right, developing our spiritual strength together. Let's just bring some awareness in through the body, into what you know as the feet and what you know as the knees. And we'll start to just move with our breath. And this can be as small or as big as you want, but we'll start to bend our knees as we let our arms just raise a little. And then we'll inhale as we let the arms come down. So if you were in a chair, and even if in standing, you could lift a knee, but in standing, I'm going to wait a little bit and just bend the knees as I lower the arms. And then after a few of those, inhale and just let the arms raise. And just stay for a few breaths with the arms just about shoulder height. Sensing into the contact, whether it's your sitting bones or your toes or the balls of your feet. And see if there's a more stable way to stand as you bring the arms down. Let's see if I can adjust my camera just a little so you can see a bit more. So just letting the body stand, letting the body be stable like a mountain. And maybe doing a little bit of rocking back and forth, forward and back. Just sense toes and heels. And maybe you want to try that at different widths with the feet. You can have the knees really bent or longer. And then come to some stillness again. And again, that just beginning in this first few minutes to develop some compassion for this body. So whether your experience is like, oh, the body feels tired, or there feels like this or that, let's see if we can greet it with some softness, just some tenderness, like you might with a friend or even a stranger, just some real gentleness. Or if you were like a nurse, I guess, or a caregiver, you might want to, right? Or the kind of tenderness you might give to a beautiful animal, right? That kind of warmth. And let's just step the left foot forward. Step your left foot forward. Doesn't really matter which one, but we'll start with the left together. And we're going to bend the knee a little bit. It's to sense into, starting to bring our awareness into the lower body, into feet and knees. Just knowing that the upper body is floating above like a balloon. The head's just floating on the string of the spine. So the feet are, a distance apart. I'm going to turn so you can see a little better. And we're just going to bend and straighten this knee in a safe way. And if you want to hold on to a wall or a chair, just see what it feels like to bend it as you inhale. Right, so you're keeping your balance and you're spreading your toes, and then exhaling, just resting that front leg. So we'll try it bending. We can let our arms float out. Right, no big deal, just a little bend and then lengthening. Let's try it again. So we go bending, bending. And I don't know about you, but I start to feel some real work going on. I might describe it as tightness or heat, even trembling. And I'm just seeing if I can hold that beautiful, compassionate awareness, some form of tender awareness while that's happening. And then resting the arms and stepping the back foot forward. And let's just stand without shaking anything out, but just stepping forward and just seeing what that was like. You know, if there's pain from that, then I would say don't do any more of that. If that's too much on your lower back, don't do any more. But for those of us for whom that felt like a strengthening back bend, let's try the other side. So we'll just turn and we'll step the right foot forward. Doesn't have to be a big stance, but in some ways a bigger stance is easier and more beneficial maybe, a longer stance to really feel something in the hips and pelvis, to really create a little stimulation from the tailbone, right from the heels, the knees. So just finding a stance in Warrior One, as it's sometimes called, and sensing into the hips and pelvis. Now this is so great because I don't know if you noticed, but when you're seated, our hips tend to be a little like rounded forward. And here you have the hips kind of drawing open, right? Pelvis drawing open. So it's a bit of a back bend for your lower back. Right? So we'll bend as we inhale. And then we'll lengthen as we exhale. And this has to be at your pace. So let's try this time. We'll bring our hands forward as we inhale. And we'll bring them back as we lengthen that way. Just a couple. Bring it forward. Arms forward, knee bent, and back. And then on this next one, let's just stay for a moment. So we'll go forward and stay. And then we're going to rest the arms and we'll step this back foot forward real simply, right? So with an in-breath, and we'll just stand for a moment. Let's just sense the effects. Now, coming back to a nice, stable standing position. Let's lift one foot. Right, so the knee comes up. And then we'll put it down. With inhale, we'll switch to the other one. Exhale. And inhale. Good, and let's try flexing the foot. Let's try letting the exhale be bringing the heel forward. And the inhale, drawing the knee straight up. Back to bend. Let's try it again. We'll go exhale. At your pace, right? And then your inhale. One more. Exhale, hold. Good. Now take this top leg, this extended leg, and cross it over the other one. So your feet are crossed. And just stand here for a bit, feeling this root, soft rootedness, this supple rootedness. Can you do a little side bend in a way that feels safe for your hips and back? With your feet crossed like this, going one way and then the other. And really devoting your awareness, your focus into the sensations of body and breath. Together, that's really all we're doing. We're just going to do these simple, safe shapes, aware of our body and breath together. You know, and we can chant. So there are these seed mantras, like the one that helps to connect us to the base of the body. I mean, there are many, but one of them is like the sound L-A-M, right? Like this. I'll demonstrate. And if you like to chant, most of your sound is off, so hopefully maybe no one will, it'll enhance your room, but one more time. Resting into that pocket of stillness that starts to happen when you move with your own relaxed breath. Come on out of this cross-legged and stand again. And go back to knee up. And switching slowly. Ever so slowly, ever so gently. And strength too, right? Some strength. Good. Now, you crossed one leg over, you need to cross the other one. Let's try the flexing first. Do you remember which leg you crossed over? For me, it was my right. Now I've got my left on top, I think. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to matter that much in the long run. Right? So you can cross over, and we'll do the little side bends again, if you feel stable enough to. Right? So your feet are crossed. And then the arms can be at the side. Inhaling up. Or you might rather have your arms out wide or overhead. And when you're done, just uncross gently. Let's take the movement next. It'll be for more like the upper body, and we'll just give the lower body a little resting time because you can feel it was a lot of work. Maybe you can feel it from here down. I mean, for the rest of the body too, but mostly the legs, the trunk, right? So just feel the effect of resting as we do some work that'll more focus on the upper body. So just allow some breath. So the resting place is so important in this practice, right? In all these practices, right? Just some space. Just receiving, practicing receiving. I don't know if you can see some nature out the window, or maybe you're even outside, but if you can practice receiving from the trees, even if you can't see them, you can still feel them, feel into, practice receiving from the nature working to provide, really. It just keeps providing. And tuning into that. Of course, if you're in an area where there are like floods and nature is, then it's not so soothing, right? Not so comforting. So maybe some other sound that's more comforting, the sound of your own heartbeat, maybe the sound of a bird or your pet. Even the sound of a fan can be quite. Now, of course, everything can have meaning attached too, and the mind can get going, the thinking mind. But let's see if we can just recognize for a moment that the thinking mind is a bit like a computer spitting out. You'll notice memories. Delia talks about this a lot. Memories of the past, plans for the future, all kinds of expectations, shoulds, and so many ideas, many of them creative, and some of them not so much. But let's just not engage with that for a bit and stay within this direct experience. So not so important what the thoughts are about right now. I mean, if you feel filled with inspiration, dare I take you from that? I wouldn't really want to. However, but some awareness that we're living in these practices through these senses, sensing again into the hips, the feet, like, or just let's say sensation. What's being known through the doors of kinesthetic sense, touch. For me, I still have a bit of like stuff in the hips that would like a little more attention. So since I'm leading, let's go with that. Let's do a little tree pose together. A lot of sitting can really make the hips, or driving, right, can make the hips really want some more therapy. So let's try this together. Lifting one foot. Let's start with the right foot, and we'll put it against the inner leg of the left, right? And it could be higher, but we'll try not to put it right on the knee, right? So try not to put your heel right on the knee, but otherwise anywhere on your standing leg, you might find your foot fits easily somewhere. This is a spot where my foot kind of hangs on to the thigh, but certainly lower, and they'll all have different benefits. And then holding on to something is totally fine. But let's just get into some sensations here. And by get into, I mean just simply that effortless, almost effortless observation, that awareness, right? It really is pretty much effortless, much less effortful than most of the ways I go about things. It's this relaxed, kind of resting back awareness of like, what is this feeling? And you can come down whenever you want, or you could stay longer. And then, after you rest for a bit, you'll want to take the other side. Just at your own pace, and just really, you're just experimenting. We're just experimenting. It's a divine experiment with a goal of really inhabiting this, really taking responsibility for what's happening here, really knowing it, really getting to know what's happening here. Not to fix it, not to change it, but rather to develop these qualities of being with, of compassion, of strength, of focus, patient generosity. Curiosity. Even forgiveness could come to play in the practice, right? Forgiveness for so after you've played around on both sides, I think it's wise to have another go at it, to try a second time. But first a rest. And how about a little forward bend before the second round of tree pose? So let's try this. You can hold at the hips a little. You might even give a little rub. And then bending the knees, bowing like you're at Carnegie Hall. So you want to bring your heart forward. Bend your knees. You don't have to lift your head. You can keep your head down. You're resting, your neck long, and just bending gently forward. And then inhaling and coming up the same way, lifting from the heart. Good. And then bending the knees and looking up a bit. Let's try it again. We'll fold forward. We're going to just draw the chin in, fold forward. And inhale, lift the heart. Bend the knees, lift the chest, relax the neck. You might bring the arms out wide. Let's do it one more time. So we'll go from here to fold it over. a couple breaths. Beautiful. And then a soft in-breath, riding a soft in-breath back up. Great. So could you sit on the floor or a chair for a bit? And we'll, remember I said we'll take some movement for the arms. We will, but you could be in a chair or on the floor. I'm going to try from the floor for now. See how that goes. Right, so sitting in a way where I'm upright on my own, right? Not really leaning on the back of the chair unless I need to, right? Just to develop a little bit of this uprightness where now my sits bones are dropping down, right? My hips are dropping down. Maybe my feet still touch the floor, but maybe they don't. And just settling into this orientation. And, you know, noticing with the chin up, I get a little disconnected, right? You might see that there's a little disconnect if my chin's up sometimes, right? So it might feel good to draw the chin down and just let the head rest on the neck. All right, let's see how it feels to let the head come forward. And then inhale to just let the forehead lift back to upright. That again too. Exhale, you'll let your head come forward, do a little, almost a slouch, right? And then inhale, lift the face. Can you draw your tailbone back so you get a whole curve of the spine like a C shape? It's easier if you have your feet on the ground to do that, even if it's just your tiptoes, right? And then you try it again. Don't pull on the spine, but just let your belly draw in and your head relax forward. Good. And then inhale, let your tailbone draw back. Now let's take a little forward bend. So let's let the head come back to kind of neutral position. Yeah, and then let's take a little forward bend, same way we did in standing, just resting the head neck long. Yeah, stay for a moment, feel the length here, feel the stability in the base. And then inhale, come smoothly up. Can you do that again? So you'll take your exhale, you wait for your exhale, and let the heart come forward, let the chin draw in. Use your hands however you need to, but let this come from the folding forward of the heart. Right, forward reaching heart. Good, and then just stay, now this time chin toward the right shoulder. Allow a few breaths here, chin toward the right shoulder. Just investigating what the sensations are like in the upper body. Let's leave it at that. Let's keep it that general. The upper body, what the sensations are like. Is there hotness? Is there coolness? Poking, right? Itching. It's all something to meet. Gently turning chin toward the chest and then over toward the left shoulder. Good, and then back to center. Let's bring our arms up toward the sky. And then with your out breath, just your right hand touching the back of your neck. Now this is going to take a little stamina. We're going to inhale, bring that right hand back up again. Same thing, the right hand just touching the back of the neck. One more time, right? So inhaling with feeling, sensing through the crown of the head, the fingers, the elbows, the neck, and touching the back of the neck. Inhale. Now let's try 3 times. This time the other hand, the left hand, touching the back of the neck. Good, left hand, inhaling up. And touching the back of the neck. And one more time. Inhaling up. Turning your head just to soften through the face and the neck. And touching the back of the neck. Good. Bring the arms down. Now in a moment we're going to do both arms, but let the arms rest for a moment, except do this if you would. Bringing your shoulders up, squeezing them up, and then just letting them rest down at whatever pace you like. You can go slowly or quickly, but just squeeze them until they're tired and they don't want to squeeze anymore. Just up and down. Good, and when you've had enough, we're going to take just a little forward bend again, resting the arms, inhaling, sensing the heart, the chest, right, the throat, the face, and letting the strong spine just hold us, extend the body forward, forward. And then inhale, coming up. Let's bring both arms all the way up. Good, and exhale, touching the back of the neck, or the back of the head, whatever you can reach. Inhale, both arms up again. And just softening the fingers. Exhale, touching the back of the neck. One more time. Good, resting the arms, really nice. Good, now, if you can, let's come to hands and knees next. Just if you can, and some of us need more padding on the knees, or maybe you have an area of your knee you need to avoid. And if you can, right, coming over to hands and knees. Yeah, that works. And we're going to just come down to the forearms so that we can lift the back leg, right? So with the torso down on this slope, and the head resting, we're in this really nice forward bend. Just to give the brain a rest, right? To give the face a rest, the eyes a rest, right? So enjoying this slope, as long as you don't have a condition that says you shouldn't, really letting your face and neck rest, your eyes, and centering your left knee, just balancing on that left knee while you send your right leg straight back, just on your toes. Just allowing a few breaths here. Yeah, so you're balancing on kind of the top part of that left knee. And then come on back and try the same thing with the right knee under the pelvis, right? So now your left leg goes back. And you can feel the front of the body kind of drawing upward, right, to support this long spine, long leg, long spine. Coming back, try it again. So the knee, the supporting knee's right in the middle under the pelvis. And the long leg is just straight back like a heavy tail. And when you're all done, come back to two knees. And then up to your hands, up to two hands or your fingertips, if that feels better. Yeah, and let's just see, again, sense the whole spine from the tailbone up to the, where it connects to the skull, right? So we'll just let our nose come forward. And then see if you can just shift your heart forward a little, so you have a little extra weight in your hands, if that's okay. Yeah, and then as you exhale, just let your tailbone rest down. let the crown of your head rest. Just let your whole spine, but don't pull on anything. Don't exert in any way, right? So you're just gonna go inhale, nose forward. Exhale, chin up, tailbone rested. Now inhale, nose forward. Exhale, chin in, tailbone just resting. Once more. Good. Good. And then you want to rest back into a little like child pose, or maybe put your head on the ground. And this is more of like what we call yoga mudra, but like a little yogic seal with the head down. That's an option. As a way to just pause again. Just resting there. And taking a few breaths there. Maybe another 30 seconds there, and we will at some point very soon roll over onto the back if you can. And if that's not an option, you can find a way to work these from seated or even standing. But we'll spend a little time on the floor and we'll finish with a relaxation on the floor. So you can set yourself up for that. Turn this fan off over here. But so slowly draw yourself over to your back when you're ready. And if something else would be better for you to rest, because that's what we're heading toward after these few minutes, set yourself up for that. So now that you're on your back, if you're there yet, just really sensing this experience from the inside out, right, what it feels like. And if it helps to have the hands on the body to sense the breath, you don't have to sense the breath from just one place here. You can sense the breath in all different ways, but sensing the breath is good. Interesting. Interesting. Of course, not for everyone. That, focusing isn't for everyone. So keeping your awareness broader, but still in the body. Sort of that compassion rises up again, right? So let's take the knees to the chest. Right, so we're learning to take care of this body-mind instrument, knowing we can have positive effects. Let's try letting the right foot land on the ground as the right arm floats overhead. And then as you exhale, let the right knee come back to the chest. Let the arm come all the way down. So try inhale, the right foot lands, the right arm sweeps overhead. Exhale. The knee comes up, the arm lays. Inhale. Foot landing, arm landing. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Last one on this side, so you can stay with the right knee up. Good, and we'll just switch to this right knee moving, from this right knee moving over to this left knee moving, and left arm. So let's try it in this next round. I'll try this left arm overhead, the left foot landing. And we'll let the arm come even further on its way back, all the way forward. Breath. And out breath. In breath. So filling the body with compassion. We would say, filling the air with compassion, right? Letting it soak into the lungs. Even amidst thoughts of sorrow, thoughts of grief, even amidst difficult emotions, we can regulate the body and the breath and take care of ourselves. Even in the most difficult times, we can do some of this. And these can be really difficult times, right? So yeah, just recognizing you might have strong emotions, right? Like you might have worries or even panic. You might have to, these thoughts can be, however, the more I ground myself in this awareness of body and the breath, the more I feel this kind of wholesome quality take hold of presence, where I can help, where I can be of service to myself and others, right? So here we are, we're back here. Let's try the same thing in a moment with both arms and both legs. So you might want to roll a little bit back and forth. And before we try that movement with both arms and legs, can you try just with your fingertips on your knee, just letting your knee draw a little circle? So don't let your hand be any kind of weight, but you might want to just rest it there. It might help you to be aware of the knee to hip to toe connection. And you go the other way too. Noticing the places where the movement's a little shaky. Those are the areas where the connection's a little bit weak. It could use a little more of this kind of awareness, movement with awareness, a kind of physical therapy, right? An ancient kind of physical therapy. Good. So, how about the other knee? By noticing the effects of swirling the knee around, and then trying the other side, letting the knee circle. You don't have to have a hand on the knee, but it's not about making circles. It's about all the sensations from all these different variations of the leg in the hip. Right? Can we keep our hips healthy and avoid hip replacement? I don't know, but we certainly can explore, and we certainly can strengthen all the muscles and the vitality of this area, right, with these beautiful little circular motions. And these motions could be, and you see it's different on your back, right, than it is when you're seated. the gravity's playing a certain role. So see if this is something you want to include in your repertoire. But let's come back to two knees, knees toward the chest. And we'll inhale, let our feet land and our arms go overhead. Right, see if you can let really easy breath in the whole front of the body. And then exhale. Arms to the sides, knees to the chest. Try a few at your own pace. When you feel content, like that was enough, I'd love for you to find a position to rest in. Like, I think it could be legs on a chair. It could be legs up on the wall. I think you might see me take legs up on the wall. And we're going to rest and settle into stillness in these last few minutes. So yeah, so you have a moment to find your spot. I'm going to bring myself closer so I don't get too far from the camera. But yeah, finding that spot for you to rest. And it could be right where you were, right on your back. Legs up really just gives more flow toward the heart. Into the hips too, gives the hips and the lower back. Just a beautiful way to rest. Right, so settling in and knowing that, we didn't move in every way that we could. So if there's something you need, maybe you'll do it later this afternoon, or maybe you'll do it in just a moment as an addition to the practice. But just for now, dropping into absorbing all the energy that you moved around in these little movements, which is really all it is. It's like these little kind of kindergarten movements done at a pace that can be really interesting. Well, I'll just leave it there, right? Just see what the effects are in the body. And just practicing some gratitude that you bring yourself to these practices, that you have this tendency to do good for yourself. And I can develop this quality within myself, this desire to make wholesome choices that really create the kind of space through which divine energy or inspiration and collaboration move through, right? So really being responsible for this vessel and letting this whole vessel relax from crown of the head to arms and hands, from crown of the head through the neck and the face, the eyes, and the brain. Just settling into this beautiful, grace-filled experience of being held, right, in this well-meaning practice, this practice that really only seeks to create wholesomeness, that only seeks to create less suffering, more space for love and compassion, more space for healing, space for learning and growth. Right, just settling into our incredible fortunate that we have this opportunity, right, to rise from our own ashes to heal. So just resting in that. that faith and goodness is resting with the breath, continuing to cultivate compassion. To rest in that simplicity. Staying awake, I'm using those little bells, those little notifications that, it's just that little reminder that this isn't sleep. It could be, but it isn't. This is relaxed awareness. Relaxed awareness. This is the mind, body, heart work of relaxed awareness. If we're tired, yes, compassion for our tiredness, yes. But awake, relaxed awareness. Just continuing to let this spacious energy touch into places that maybe are not so spacious. Practicing that gentle presence that seeks to know, that seeks to understand. Taking 2 more minutes. Deep silence. Gentle, gentle movements. And no rush to bring all this awareness out into the world so quickly. Why not? Why not keep more awareness inward this afternoon, or whatever time it is for the next few hours? Why not take a different approach, right? And maybe just a little more awareness inward. And we'll come really gently up to seated again at your own time, in your own time. I guess it's time for us to be finished, but if you'd like to close, I love to close with a little pranayama, a little breathing practice. And the simplest one that I love to close with is just one nostril breathing. So it's just breathing through one nostril at a time, and see if it helps you to feel calm but focused. So this is sort of reining our breath into a narrow, narrow, thread-like breath, which is kind of the way the breath is when we're very calm. So it's inviting us into this calming breath. But it can be hard to do if the mind is agitated, right? So at the end of practice is a nice time to feel into that. And you can switch to the other side. Of course, if your breath, if your nose is, if you can breathe through the nose. Beautiful. So thanks everyone for your practice. Thanks for staying and thanks for practicing. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. And we'll have the recording up, so use the recording another day. And I hope to see you really soon. Keep taking those deep breaths. Right, keep cultivating that generosity. And then we just keep practicing. We don't have a close to the practice, but I'll ring the bell. We'll call it the close, but really it isn't the close. Good. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.